Quick story time. A few weeks ago, I decided I wanted to film a video of me turning a large maple bowl and attempting to core it out on my extension. Now the reason why that's kind of a big deal is because the last time I attempted to core on my extension, I ended up having a pretty bad catch, and it been the only coring knife that I had at the time. Threw my extension all out of whack. It was a big mess. And so I've been a little hesitant to try it since then until a few weeks ago. Now, spoiler, I was able to core out the maple bowl, and you'll see that video here in a few weeks whenever the bowl dries. But the whole reason why I bring all this up is because in that video, after I was able to core it out, I made a comment that I didn't know if I would try it again, and if I did, I would have to change things. I was kind of just skeptical about it all, which in my heart, I knew I wanted to do it again, but I really didn't have any sort of rush to get back to it. I figured I'd try it here in a few months, whatever. But me being me, ever since I filmed that video, all I've done is turn big bowls and core them out. So me thinking that it was going to be a few months ended up being literally like the day after. So come over here. I don't know where that inspiration or motivation or whatever it is came from, but I have been really wanting to finesse and work on how I approach a bowl this size on my lathe, because if you didn't know, my lathe is only 1.5 horsepower, so it's not necessarily the best for this type of work. So my whole goal was to figure out a process that takes off a lot of the strain on the motor, because coring on a lathe is already a lot of strain, but coring a bowl this size on the extension on a lathe that's not necessarily meant for this, a lot of extra work on it. So I've set myself up a goal this week to try and bring y'all behind the scenes and show y'all that process, and also kind of learn with me, because don't get me wrong, I'm still learning a ton, but I want to see how well it works. So with all that said, let me get the bowls that I'll be turning this week up on the workbench, and I'll explain a little bit more. Well, as you can see, I definitely have my work cut out for me this week. There are some pretty big bowls here. They're all around the 18 to 22 inch range, somewhere around there. So right now I'm wanting to do about 2 a day. That's the plan. And for the 5 traditional styles here, I do want to core those for sure. I'm going to attempt that. The natural edge ones here, I don't know, to be honest. That is still very intimidating to me. It's intimidating coring a natural edge bowl over the bed, much less on the extension. And with the lathe that I have, I don't know yet. I'll figure it out, see as I go, or we'll see what happens. And also with that little mess up there, I also want to say I do want this video to be a little bit more casual, because typically when I film a video, it's from me doing something from start to finish and just kind of how the process and how it works. For this one, I definitely want to be a little bit more vlog style, a little bit more relaxed. So, because it's more about me trying to core these and just get this done. So if you like this kind of video, please let me know. I definitely appreciate the feedback. But with all that said, I am wasting daylight. Let me get the lathe ready. Let me get a faceplate on one of these, and let's get some turning done, because I have a new upgrade, a new tool that I'm excited to show y'all. However, I cannot do that until we get these shaped. So enough talking, let's get some turning done. So this is the bowl I decided to go with. It seems to be the biggest one out of all of them, so I kind of wanted to get the biggest one out of the way first. I believe it's around 22 inches in diameter and about 9 inches tall, I think. Now, as far as the faceplate and stuff goes, I've gotten a few questions about it, and I do cover this in the upcoming video where I use these, I guess, lag bolts to hold these big pieces in. But I'll talk about that more in the upcoming video. They're fantastic. I love them. As far as the design and shape of this bowl goes, I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. I do know that I want to keep it kind of clean and simple because there's some really pretty grain and color in this wood, or at least there seems to be. So I want to keep that kind of the focus and just keep the overall shape pretty simple and minimal. Like I said, let me get this faceplate on here so we can finally get some turning done. I feel like I should be a part of a pit crew or something doing that. So for these, I do like to hand crank them on first, and then I don't mind turning it on like that. Always be careful when you do that. I guess you say do that at your own risk. Now also, I will say real quick, I've gotten to the point with these, or at least the past 2 weeks, where I actually have not been using the tailstock. I've been using the riser block just to put the tool rest on, the banjo. So that's what I'm going to do for this one as well. The faceplate, the screws, they seem to hold it pretty well. And then also sometimes the tailstock just gets in the way. If I feel like I need it though, I'll put it on. Seems like we're all set, ready to go. So I'm going to get the tailstock and stuff on here and get my mask. All right, well, the first bowl is finished and ready to be flipped around. However, like I said, I'm going to wait to get the other bowl shaped up before I do anything on the inside here. Overall, the bowl went fairly smooth. Didn't take long at all. Took roughly about 45 minutes or so, and that is with filming. Ended up having to take more off than I wanted. That's okay. It's still a really pretty bowl, and I like the way it looks. That's all that matters. Got plenty of bigger bowls to go. So anyways, let me get this one off, get the faceplate off, and let's get on to the next one. Okay, so the next bowl blank is ready to go. As far as the design goes for this one, I'm going to try and do a concave shape, I guess, if you want for it to resemble something, I guess a calabash bowl, where, you know, there's a smaller base here and then it kind of closes in on itself. But that's the plan for now. And also, speaking of plans, I might have changed plans now. You know, like I said earlier, I kind of wanted to do 2 today, flip them around, and then do the coring. However, I'm thinking what I want to do is go and maybe start to shape another one or 2, potentially, seeing how long this takes. and then tomorrow morning come in here first thing in the morning and just be able to knock out all the coring, and that way I can focus on it. I'm not trying to rush through the rest of the afternoon. So let me stop talking and let's get this one shaped up, because the sooner I shut up, the sooner I can get to turning. I had to stop for a second because I had this piece of wood fly out. You can see right there where it broke off. So you always got to be careful with that kind of thing. At first when it happened, I thought it was a piece of bark, but nope, completely piece of wood that goes right there. Yep. So anyways, got to be careful with that kind of thing. So the second bowl is now done, and once again, that went fairly smooth. Got the shape that I wanted. I'm happy with this one. The only thing is, I think the base is a little bigger than what I'd planned for, but it is okay. I've got to remember that I'm wanting more of this to be utilitarian use, you know, salad bowl, giant salad bowl. So I don't want the base to be too small. Now, if it was something, say I was going to take to a gallery, or I was going for a more sculptural look, then I would go for a much smaller base, because I really like that look of where, you know, it just has a very small base and comes way out. I like it. So yeah, overall, everything is going smooth as far as the whole process goes. You know, I don't have any complaints at all. There's been no major issues. Everything's felt very stable. Like I said earlier, I was thinking about changing out the plan, and now lost my train of thought there. I was thinking about doing, you know, these two and then coring them. However, I have decided to go ahead and turn one more, and then tomorrow morning I will come back in and we will get to coring these first thing in the morning. So let me do that. I'm gonna get one more bowl ready to go. After that, I'm going to call it a day. Let me pick out the next one that I'm going to go with, and let's get started on it. Alright, so I've gone ahead and got the third bowl blank ready to go. The reason why I went with this piece is because when I was chainsawing this piece, I accidentally cut too much off the top here. So it is a little out of balance, but more importantly, it ended up cutting off a pretty good chunk here at the top. So I say that as a negative, but at the same time, it's going to force me to be a little bit more creative. And that's also the double-edged sword of how I do this, of coming in not with really any ideas in mind and kind of just winging it. You kind of get stuck with stuff like this because, you know, I don't know what direction I want to take this. Part of me wants to go more of a sculptural, artistic piece, since I've already done two other utilitarian pieces, and then a part of me wants to just kind of go to my comfort zone and do another utilitarian piece. A few weeks ago, I think maybe a few months ago, I did a video where I talked about wanting to be more artistic this year, and in that video I turned a natural edge bowl with some handles, and it's kind of inspired me because now I'm thinking I want to do with the handles on this as well. I'm also facing I guess the laziness aspect of it, if I'm being 100% honest, because it's like, you know, I can knock out a utilitarian, a salad bowl, and just be done, call it a day. Doing the handled bowl will require a little bit more effort. And then a part of me is like, I just don't know. I have a hard time separating artistic stuff and utilitarian stuff, because when I do utilitarian stuff, I know people can use it. It has a purpose, whereas something a little bit more artistic, you know, somebody has to just care about the piece, if that makes any sense. But I think what I'm going to do is just start turning. But again, if there's some issues or something in the wood, then I'll just go with the utilitarian piece and call it a day. So let me get this one going. Let me get it started, because after this, I'm done for the afternoon, and we'll get back on this tomorrow. But got one more to do until then. Alright, so I've got the bowl all rounded out except for, come on around, right here. Yeah, there was definitely a big chunk missing when I chainsawed it, so it is what it is. You make mistakes and you learn. However, I do think it'll be okay if I do the handled bowl, so that's what I'm going to do. The handled bowl that I'm inspired by, it has a concave shape, and I'll show that after this. So what I'm thinking is if I do that, plus the thickness of the handle that I have to turn away, I think it'll be fine, actually. I don't think it'll cause issues. So let me do that and see if that's going to work out as well as I hope. Finally got it done. I am happy, really happy actually, that I decided to go with the handled bowl. The only thing I'm a little nervous about is I hope I didn't make this too thin, because I did get a little bit of tear out here, but I'm hoping when I cut it all away to make just the actual set of handles that most of this will be gone and that the part that I sand will be just fine. I'm very happy I went with it. I think that was a great choice, and yeah, sometimes you gotta go with your gut, I guess. But that's going to do it for today. I'm going to get this packed up and it's shaving, so that way we don't have to worry about any cracks. And then we will get back out here first thing tomorrow. And what I'll do is we'll start with the first one that I turned, and the process is the same for all. We'll clean up the top there, and then we'll get the coring. And I'm excited about that because I've got something to show y'all. So anyways, guys, I'm going to get cleaned up, get out of here, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Reviewing the footage, and I see I've got a little dangle there. It's what life having a beard, I guess. See y'all tomorrow. Good morning, everybody. It is time to start coring some of these bowls from yesterday. Now this is the first one that I turned, so I'm going to start with that one and see how it goes. Everything looks like it dried nicely. Well, dry. It looks like it survived the night. There are no checks or cracks in this, so that's good. I don't have to do any sort of cleaning up on the sides here. The only thing I've got to clean up is the top here and get it level and smooth, which in my last video, or the one that is coming up, I didn't do that, and I really should have. So that is one lesson learned. Always level, clean up the surface here. So yeah, I'm gonna do that, get that cleaned up, then I'll take the banjo, get the coring system off. So let's get started. Alright, so before I get started, I figured I would go on and show y'all what the big update to the coring system is, and that is this right here. It is the Hunter Tools Core Pro replacement tip cutter head for the one-way coring system. So the other day I posted a short little video of me coring out the big maple bowl that is in the upcoming video, And I had somebody reach out asking if I've ever used it and how much they like it. And honestly, out of the years I've had my coring system, I've never heard of it. I've heard of Hunter Tools. Didn't know they made a replacement tip for it though. So I did a little bit of homework on it, and overall it seems like it's a very good upgrade. It seems like everybody has very positive things to say about it, and they say that it can core up to around 100 to 150 bowls per side, and it cuts at a square, or it has a square tip and it cuts on the angle, so it's cutting on both sides. So it's two sides, and so really it can get around 300 or so bowls. That's a big claim, but it seems like everybody loves it. And I will say up front, it is quite the investment. Just one cutter head is around $200, and then I bought a replacement tip, so I think total wise I think I paid around $230. So it isn't cheap, but if it works as well as they say it does, and as hopeful as I am, then it's potentially money well spent. And especially for me, because a lot of the logs that I get are around 20 to 30 inches in diameter, so they're pretty big. So if I can have something like this and core, a 22-inch bowl blank and get multiple salad bowls or whatever I'm turning out of it, that'll be, that is money well spent. So I'm really hopeful for this. I'm excited. But anyways, let me go on and get it set up so we can find out if it works as well as they say it does. Alright, so first impressions, I am blown away. That was awesome. It cuts so freaking smooth, and it creates some really nice ribbons. The only issue, I guess if you want to call that, and it was on me, is you've really got to keep the cutter head clear. You got to clean out those shavings. I didn't towards the back there. I couldn't get the rest out, so I was having some struggle getting it to start cutting again. But I actually, or I just took a declogger, like a little wire, and cleaned it out, and that was the job. That was my fault. Other than that, everything was awesome. I did get some vibration there towards the end. I don't know if it was just cutting on the backside there where there's more downward force, or if my motor was just a little loose, because I checked in and everything was fine as far as the chuck. But I think it was the motor head. I don't know. We'll find out. I just think it was a little loose on the clamp side. So all I'm going to do now is move this over and then core this one out, and then after that is when I'll switch to my next knife. But I'm going to keep this one. This is the number 3 knife. The number 2 knife. This is the number 2 knife. It's got the 6.5 inch depth, I believe. So I'm gonna keep that in and just slide it over to this next line and keep things rolling. Alright, so lesson learned for this. I thought I'd maybe have cleared it enough, but the math told me I didn't. I was stubborn and I decided, well, maybe my math is wrong, and I went for it anyways. So there you go. Lesson learned, busted right through the bottom. silver lining is I don't have to clean up as much on this, and then also I still did get 3 bolts out of it, which is better than nothing. So I'm okay with that. You know, it is a part of it. You gotta have this kind of stuff happen for you to do better in the future. But anyways, I'm going to go throw this in the fire pit and get the next one ready, and then keep on coring. All right, well, all the bowls have been cored, and I've got to say, I absolutely love the new cutter head. It was a great investment. I will go on and say that. The only, I mean, it's not even negative. The only thing about it is that it cuts so well that you've really got to stay on top of keeping the shavings and the chips cleared out. But yeah, other than that, I mean, and that's not even a negative. That's just something I've got to learn how to, deal with. So other than that, everything was amazing. I ended up getting, it looks like 7 bowls out of the 3 bowls here. So 7 out of 3 bowls. That's pretty awesome. Minus the one that I lost. It is what it is. That's a learning lesson, because the next bowl that I did, which was this one right here, it ended up working out really well, and I was able to get the nesting set there. So yeah, with all that said, I'm going to go ahead and get these all shaped up so I can get them drying, but I'm going to do that off camera. And I will check back in tomorrow and figure out what I'm going to do. I think tomorrow we might tackle a natural edge bowl. Good morning, y'all. So just trying to clean up the mess from yesterday. Now typically when I'm done in the afternoon with turning or whatever it is I'm working on, I like to try and get the shop cleaned up. When I come out here in the mornings like this, it's a lot more motivating when I'm coming into a clean shop, something where I don't have to clean up for the first thing in the morning. Now I get asked a lot of times, what I do with all my shavings, and as you can see, my chickens get them. We use it for a bed for their bed layer for their run. We also have raised beds, so it'll go in those as well for filler, and then we sometimes compost them. And then ultimately, when I have more than I know what to do with, I will just burn them. I mean, use them for like bonfire nights, that kind of thing. Anyways, today I've decided to focus on one natural edge bowl and just decor it. I'm a little nervous, to be completely honest with you. That's why I decided just to focus on one. And the whole reason is, the coring part of it. I've turned, a handful of natural edge bowls on the extension here, and I've never really had any issues. It is intimidating, but the coring to me, I'm nervous, if I'm being 100% honest with you. So I'm gonna focus on one, see how that goes, and if it goes well, then I might attempt another one. I don't know, we'll see. I'm gonna play it by ear today, but right now the focus is just on one. So, all right, I'm gonna finish cleaning up this mess, and then I guess we'll get started. Well, the nerves, they're calming down a little bit. Now that I've got on the lathe, it doesn't seem so bad. I don't know. The only thing I'm nervous about really is one of the sides on it is pretty steep and it drops down a lot. But ultimately the final shape is what's going to affect the coring. I really think it'll be alright. I do. And I mean, at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. That's just a part of it. Oh, I need to clean my bed here. I should end up with a bowl no matter what I do, whether the coring works out or not. It's more or less, I just don't want to catch or anything. But yeah, should be good to go. So I'm going to get my gouge sharpened, take care of that real quick. And then for this design, I think I'm going to keep it simple since this is the first time I've ever cored a natural edge bolt on the extension. I've done it one other time on the bed, and this is the first time here, so I'm going to keep the design fairly simple. I don't want to overcomplicate anything. But yeah, let me get my gouge sharpened up. Well, that ended up going fairly smooth, which I didn't really anticipate it not to, but sometimes you never know. The shape overall, I kind of kept it similar to how one of the bowls I did Monday. Like I said, I want to keep this clean and simple, but honestly, I love it. I love the way it looks. I think it's really pretty, and I'm excited about this. But now's the intimidating part. Now it is time to core it, so let me get that ready. Always be careful if you decide to do something like that. If you do, keep the speed as low as you can, and always hand crank it first, just in case one of the thread misaligns or anything like that. Be very careful if you do that. It's kind of hypocritical of me, but I really don't recommend doing it that way, but I'm willing to take that risk. So it kind of gets it locked in a little bit better, especially with something this big. If you decide to do it, I guess at your own risk, but just be very careful when you're doing that. Well, this is where my hesitancy comes into play here. So normally when I core a bowl, I typically like to go about a ½ inch or so into the wood, and then you move the support finger in. However, like I said earlier, this side was kind of steep, and this is what I was nervous about, whereas I'm almost, I would say about 2 inches into the wood, and I still don't have a full cut here on both sides. So what I'm nervous about is that if I move this in now, because it's getting a little iffy, I'm really pushing it here, and if I move it in where there's gap here where there hasn't been a cut, that somehow or another the finger might vibrate out, and then I'll get a bad catch, because that wood, one of these edges would come down on top of it. So that's where I'm a little nervous. I'm kind of conflicted on what to do. I think I'm going to move the finger in and just hope for the best. I don't know, because I would rather try that first, and then, or instead of keeping on pushing it in, because if I keep on going into the cut, I will get a catch or something bad. So yeah, we'll see. But this is where where I was a little intimidated by this. All right, so I just read on a forum about somebody using these magnets to keep the blade in line with the support here. And luckily I had a few magnets laying around, and I'm hoping that will get the job done because I really don't have much more to cut into. If I can just get around an inch deep and get a full cut around the bowl, I should be fine. But let's see. I guess we'll find out. That's what I was worried about. Let's see if the tenon's all right. Well, that did not work out nowhere near as I expected it to. As you can see, the tenon did crack pretty bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm trying to stay positive, not worry too much about it, and I'm going to put some CA glue in this as much as I can, weigh it down and let it dry for a few minutes, and then we're going to chuck it back up and I'm going to try again. I don't know if I'm going to use the magnets this time. That once it got to vibrating, it didn't stay in line at all. Maybe I had the speed too low because I was nervous and I was scared, and so maybe the speed was a factor. I don't know. Either way, no matter how you spin it, it's it's kind of a finicky task to do. But anyways, I'm going to get some CA glue, let it dry, and then we're going to try it at least one more time. If it doesn't work out, then what I'll do is I'll remount the bowl blank, turn the tenon, fix the tenon, turn a new one on there, reshape the whole thing to where it fits, and we'll just turn the inside like normal. This time around, I'm just going to use the post here and just go as slow as I can. I'm hesitant, I'm nervous again, to be completely honest with you, but I think if I just take my time, it'll be all right. I just hope the slowness of it does not mess me up either. We'll see, because I really don't have far to go. If I could just get a cut there, I'll be all right. So let's find out. Well, after all that trouble, I finally got it done. And honestly, I can't believe I did it. But I'm glad I stuck through with it because there were quite a few times there I really just wanted to give up and just turn the inside. But I'm glad I didn't. And overall, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. The worst part about this process is the beginning there when you're trying to cut around the whole edge of it, and specifically this piece here or pieces like this where there's a steep drop off. That's what made this one so stressful, because when I actually got into the bowl and was coring it, the only thing that was bothering me at that point was the tenon and where I glued it up. But overall, the coring wasn't that bad. It went actually smoother than some of the bowls I did yesterday. It's just that starting point. Now, if I did a natural edge bowl that was a little bit more flat on top, it probably wouldn't be near as bad. But something like this, especially this big, it is intimidating. Not a little, it is intimidating. And it was my first time coring a natural edge bowl on the extension. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of credit with this one and boast a little bit. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of myself. I'm glad I stuck with it. But anyways, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish up the inside of that one, get that done, and then I'm going to go on and turn this one, and then I think I'm going to call it a day as far as filming goes. I got a few other things I need to take care of, and look how the clouds, it's been a cloudy day, so the lighting's been so back and forth like this. But anyways, I'm going to get that one done. Let me get that finished up so I can get that sucker off the lathe, and then we can get this one done, and I will see y'all tomorrow, where I'm still trying to figure out what the plan is, but I guess we'll figure it out as I go. I mean, that's what I've done all week. Uh. Well, it's Thursday. We are getting to the end of the week. However, I've got to be honest, I've kind of messed myself up. Now, I set aside all those bowl blanks to turn at the beginning of the week. It was a mixture of traditional style bowls with natural edge bowls. Now, Monday and Tuesday, I turned the first 3 traditional bowls, and then yesterday, I turned the first natural edge bowl. So what I should have done is I should have turned all the natural edge bowls and then all the traditional bowls, or vice versa. However, separating them the way I did, it's left me with this kind of secondary group of bowl blanks that need to be turned. Now, I could spend today and tomorrow turning them, showing you the process, but I thought that'd be kind of repetitive and quite frankly a little boring, since everything before this, it would be the same exact thing. You've already seen what would happen. So it got me thinking though that the turning and the coring was only half of this video. As I stated in the beginning, this week was about me learning and experiencing coring and turning on the extension, since I don't really have much experience with it. So I thought, why not have a conversation and talk about that? To start, let's talk about what I think is the star of the show this week, which is the Hunter Tools Core Pro Cutter Head. Now, I only have this week of experience with the cutter, but for a first impression, I will say I absolutely love it. The cutter worked really well, it cut really fast, and more importantly for me, it felt like it took some strain off the motor, which was a big concern of mine when getting into coring, especially with a 1.5 horsepower motor. I wanted to alleviate as much stress as I could off of it while coring, and I really think the cutter head did that. Now, a word of caution though, when using this cutter head, is it really does cut faster. So you have to stay on top of how fast the shavings pack into the cut. Multiple times for me, I would go in for a cut thinking they were cleaned out when they weren't. So I would just pack in shavings, and eventually came a few times where it wouldn't cut because they were so tight packed in there. However, once I kind of got into a rhythm of things and understood more about how it cut, I was better at keeping them cleaned out, and after a while, I didn't have any issues at all with that. Now, this cutter head is definitely quite the investment, coming in around $180 to $200. I bought a cutter head and cartridge with a replacement cutter, and total I think was around $230, so it's definitely not cheap by any means. However, I do believe it is money well spent, especially for somebody like me. I do sell my bowls, so allowing me to speed up the process while also maximizing the material that I get out of one bowl blank like this is definitely a bonus. So I'm okay with it. The eventual dream or goal would be to have a cutter head for all my knives, but right now I will stick to one because it clearly got the job done. But I would not be able to use this cutter head if it wasn't for the one-way coring system. So this is my one-way coring system. Now, I've had this system for quite a few years actually, and you're probably wondering, now wait, I've talked about learning this system recently, so you would think I just bought it. Nope, I've actually had this thing long before I've had the Laguna, and before I had this Laguna, I had a Jet 1642. Now, I tried this on the Jet, but it seemed like it constantly got bogged down, and more likely that was user error because the Jet's motor is also 1.5 horsepower like this one is here. So you would think they're both the same size motor, the Jet should have no problem coring. That wasn't my experience, but I do think it was on me because instead of properly learning how to use this thing, I got frustrated when I kept getting bogs, and I just put it in a cabinet and forgot all about it until I got the Laguna, and then I figured maybe I should try to learn how to use it. It's a very good system, it's robust, it's very well built, and it is kind of an investment as well, which seems to be the running theme with woodworking tools. The base is sold separately and all the knives are sold separately, and it seems to be everything runs around $200 to $250. Now the base, this is the 16-inch base that I use for the jet. What I've done is I've taken the bolts and the knives and I've just replaced them with longer bolts. Seems to work. And actually, up until a few weeks ago, I've found out that the 16-inch and the 18-inch base that they sell are the same ones, except when you order the 18-inch, they do send a riser with it. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I've heard, and it kind of makes sense. But I thought I was a genius changing out the belts and being scheming, but no, I don't think I was. Now, there are a few issues that I've had with this system, specifically this knife here. They do make 5 sizes of knives. I have 3 of them. I have 2, 3, and 4. This is 4 here. Now the issue I've had, and it's been constant, is I would really get some bad binding on it when I would get about halfway into the bowl. Now I say this as a word of caution, and do at your own risk. One of the modifications I made to this was the top back corner here and the lower front corner would constantly rub up against the wood, sometimes causing the bowl just to not be able to do anything. So I did what any sane person would do, and I took a grinder to it. Lordy mercy. However, there's no more binding. And I think part of the issue was it seemed like no matter what I did, no matter the fixes that I had or tried, I could not get it to stop. I would, change centers. I would go up or down. I just couldn't get rid of it. Now, it could have been the build. It could have been the weld. Or, again, it could have been something that I was doing. The reason why I think it was the system is because the cutter head is the same thickness as the knife here. So there's no room for, any forgiveness at all. Again, I don't know. I really don't know. However, the grinding seemed to have fixed it. That's what matters to me. And I do say that as a last resort because they do cover the knives with a very good warranty. However, I think it's safe to say that maybe taking a grinder to it is going to void the warranty. So again, do as I say, not as I do. But it did fix the issue. And again, overall, I love this system. I really do. It's been a great system, and I'm glad I'm finally getting to try and use it to its full potential. But because I have this on the bowl extension, I want to say a few words about it, and then we can wrap this video up. This is the Laguna 20-inch bed extension. Now, I call it the bowl extension, but it's technically called the bed extension. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this real quick is because I've gotten quite a few comments and messages about this and how I like it and stuff. First things first, I highly recommend using the bed extension or purchasing the bed extension. Now, I bought mine about a month or so after I bought the lathe, and I have not looked back. As you can tell, I clearly love using it. It has been well seasoned, and weird. Oh god, I'm so weird. No, but I do enjoy using it, and I think it runs around $500, $550, somewhere around there. It might be somewhere. I'll link it in the description. Now, when you purchase this, it does come with the riser block, and it also comes with a tool rest extension. As you can see, this is just the bed extension, but it does come with those 3 things. Now, the first thing I would absolutely do when you get this is change out the 3 bolts that hold on to it, or hold it onto the legs here. When I opened it up, I was kind of surprised about how dinky the bolts were. They're short little things, and when you're turning big chunks of wood like what I do, you definitely want this to be, it's crucial that it is stable and it stays level. I had issues in the past of when I would get maybe a catch or just to go a little too rough on it. This thing would constantly come unbalanced, loose, unlevel, and I just got tired of it. So what I did was I changed the bolts out for 3-inch full threaded bolts, put washers on both sides, and then a nut, tightened it down. I haven't had any issues since. So that'd be the first thing I do. Now, if you're doing it just for spindle turning here on the top, you probably can get away with it. I don't know. I honestly have never even connected it to this part. It's stayed here since I've gotten it. And then the second thing is this fancy leg down here. You've probably seen it in plenty of my other videos. It is my stabilizing 2x4. And it is awesome. It's not for weight. It is literally just to stabilize the end here. Now, I don't know if it was this video or the maple bowl video that I've mentioned, but eventually I would like to make a decent pair of legs to go down here, whether they be wood or metal, something I can again wedge in or bolt in. I don't know. It is a goal of mine to eventually get that done, because As much as I like my 2x4 here, I would like something that's a little bit more stable. But yeah, I do recommend this thing. It has been awesome. I love using it. So that's about all I gotta say for it. Alright folks, well I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this week's video, and even though it's only Thursday and I technically didn't meet the goals that I set up for this video, I'm okay with that. I really felt like I learned a ton this week. I hope y'all did as well, and also I hope y'all like how I kind of documented this week. Like I've referred to a few times in this video, it's something new for me and kind of vloggy style, and not necessarily vlogging in the traditional sense where I'm like carrying around the camera and talking to it that way. Still more my style, but I did try to show a lot more behind the scenes, try to be a little bit more communicative. So let me know what you think of that. I really do appreciate any feedback about that. And if you made this far, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. It means a ton to me. So with all that said, I have got a lot of editing ahead of me, so I will see y'all next time.